While this podcast isn't rated explicit, the content may not be suitable for younger listeners. Welcome to Sex for Saints, the Christian couple's guide to great sex. I am your host, certified sex and marriage coach, Amanda Lauder. This is episode 306, The 4 Things We All Want in Our Sexual Relationship. Welcome to Sex for Saints, a podcast for Christian couples. My goal with this podcast is to help enlighten, educate, and inspire you to understand yourself, your spouse, and your sexuality better. I talk about sex in a way you probably haven't heard before. I'm bold, I'm direct, but I keep everything in line with my strong Christian values. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. So happy to be here with you. Finally have my voice back. I lost my voice last week. I've been sick with a cold and I didn't have much of a voice. And when I did speak, it was about 2 octaves lower than it normally is. And so I'm finally getting it back and happy to record this with you. I have loved seeing so many of you joining the membership this week. It has been so fun taking advantage of the deal that I'm running right now. If you use the code podcast at checkout, you can get your first month in the membership half off. So it's just $24.50 to be in there for a month. Give it a check out, see everything, sign up for some coaching, get started with the video course, and see things start to shift immediately. It's going to be so awesome. Okay, so I've been thinking about this podcast for a long time. Last fall, I attended the Restore conference held here in Salt Lake City, and this conference is put on by the Faith Matters organization, and it brings together progressive minds in the field and peripheries of religion to help us live better lives. I absolutely loved the conference, and I was really impacted by many of the talks. And I'm going to put the link to the YouTube channel where all of these talks are for free on YouTube in the show notes, because if you have a chance to listen to any of them, it will be well worth your time. There were so many talks that were incredible. But one of the talks that I loved was by a man named Daryl Davis. Now, Mr. Davis is not a member of my same religion. He was a Black man born in Chicago. His father was a Department of State of Foreign Affairs officer, and he and his family moved all over the world. And then when he was 10, his family moved back to the United States, where he joined an all-white Cub Scout pack in Belmont, Massachusetts. And during a local parade with his pack, he was carrying the flag when he was struck with rocks and bottles thrown from the crowd, prompting the pack leaders to form a protective circle around him. And Davis did not understand at 10 years old what had happened until he discussed it with his father, where his father explained racism to him for the first time. He hadn't really been exposed to that living in foreign countries, going to schools that were multicultural. It just wasn't in his experience until that time. And the irrationality of the incident led to his curiosity about the origins and basis for racist attitudes. So in addition to being an amazing backup pianist for the likes of Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis, Mr. Davis is also an activist working to improve race relationships by seeking out and engaging in dialogue with and befriending members of the Ku Klux Klan. It was incredible to watch. So in his work, Mr. Davis really tries to build bridges with people, and he's been very successful with it because he said that all people need 5 things. We need to be loved, to be respected, to be heard, to be treated fairly, and we want the same for our family. And when we can approach conversations with these things and realize that everyone in the conversation wants that, although we might have different ways of going about it and looking at it, then we can start to build those bridges. Now, this list of 5 things really struck me profoundly because I saw the truth in it. We all want these 5 things in our life, and especially in our relationships. We want to be loved. Love is the cornerstone of any meaningful relationship. It encompasses affection, care, and emotional support. Feeling loved by your partner creates a secure foundation where intimacy can blossom. We want to be respected. Respect is the currency of healthy relationships. It involves valuing your partner's opinions and boundaries and autonomy. When respect is present, it fosters trust and mutual admiration. We want to be heard. Communication is the lifeblood of a successful partnership. Being heard means actively listening to your partner's thoughts and feelings and concerns. It fosters empathy and understanding, strengthening the emotional bond between partners. And we want to be treated fairly. Fairness ensures equality and justice within the relationship. It means sharing responsibilities, making decisions together, and resolving conflicts in a respectful manner. Fair treatment fosters a sense of equity and balance, nurturing a harmonious connection. So the book Come As You Are by Dr. Emily Nagoski has long been my most recommended book for couples to read and get more familiar with spontaneous versus responsive desire and sexual accelerators and breaks. And Dr. Nagoski just recently released a new book called Come Together, which I absolutely loved and can't recommend enough. According to her research, almost everyone wants the same thing when it comes to our sexual relationship. Now, while we may word it differently than she does, what it boils down to is that we all want to feel four things. Number one, connection. True intimacy thrives on a deep sense of connection between partners. It goes beyond physical attraction to encompass emotional, intellectual, and spiritual bonds. Cultivating connection fosters intimacy and strengthens the foundations of the relationship. Now, this can look differently for everyone. We all have our own definitions of connection. Determining what connection feels like for you, how you experience connection, and what increases or decreases that feeling of connection is important. So also understanding how your partner feels connected, because it's most likely different than how you do. Number two is shared pleasure. Sexual satisfaction is not just about individual gratification, but about mutual pleasure and fulfillment. Shared experiences of pleasure create a sense of unity and closeness, enhancing the overall satisfaction within the relationship. And while pleasure is something that we can experience on our own, most people really enjoy sharing it. Maybe it's witnessing your partner's pleasure, experiencing your partner's pleasure in your own pleasure, or sharing pleasure with your partner. We usually don't just want our own pleasure with no thought or caring about our partners. We want to share that pleasure with someone, and it matters to us. And we want our pleasure to matter to our partner as well. Number three, we want to be wanted. Feeling desired by your partner ignites passion and desire within the relationship. It involves both emotional and physical attraction, reaffirming each other's importance and desirability. We want to be wanted by our partner. We want to feel desired. Maybe that looks like approval and validation. Maybe that means feeling sexy. And when we don't feel this, it feels deeply wounding because it reinforces that voice in our head that wonders if we are even lovable or worth desiring. And number four, freedom. Healthy relationships allow room for individual growth and autonomy. Freedom within the relationship means respecting each other's independence, interests, and aspirations. It creates a supportive environment where both partners can thrive as individuals while nurturing their bond as a couple. Freedom is also an essential component of the sexual experience. The feelings of escape from the ordinary, the mundane, the stress, the distractions, and to immerse yourself in the erotic, the feeling of surrender, the feeling of freedom from the conditioning that you've had and what is keeping you stuck, and not having to think about anything else. This tends to be hard to do, especially for women, but it's what most of us long for. Now, I believe that these two lists are connected. When we feel loved, respected, heard, and treated fairly in our marriages, it makes the ability to feel connected, feel pleasure, to desire and feel desired, and to feel free possible. When both partners prioritize these values, they create a dynamic and fulfilling relationship where love, intimacy, and sexuality can flourish. It's not just about ticking off check boxes, but about embodying these values in everyday interactions and decisions. So when the foundational values of love, respect, understanding, and fairness are lacking in a relationship, it can lead to various challenges and obstacles that hinder both the marital and sexual aspects of the partnership. So here are some potential consequences. First is emotional distance. Without love and respect, emotional intimacy diminishes, leading to a sense of distance between partners. They may feel connected and emotionally detached from each other, making it difficult to foster a deep bond. The second is communication breakdown. When partners don't feel heard or respected, communication tends to suffer. Issues may go unresolved, leading to resentment and frustration. So without effective communication, misunderstandings can escalate, further eroding the relationship. Number 3 is a lack of trust. Respect and fairness are essential for building trust within a relationship. So when one or both partners feels disrespected or unfairly treated, trust diminishes. And this can lead to suspicion, insecurity, and anxiety about the stability of the relationship. All right, the next is sexual dissatisfaction. So in the absence of connection, shared pleasure, feeling wanted, and freedom, sexual satisfaction may be compromised. One or both partners may feel unfulfilled or disconnected during intimate moments, leading to a decline in sexual desire and enjoyment. And then we have resentment and conflict. Without a foundation of mutual respect and fairness, conflicts are more likely to arise and escalate. Resentment builds as one or both partners feel misunderstood, unappreciated, or unfairly treated. Now, this can create a cycle of negativity that further strains the relationship. And then we have individual discontent. When fundamental needs for love, respect, and connection are unmet, individuals may feel unfulfilled and unhappy within the relationship. And this can lead to a sense of loneliness, dissatisfaction, and a desire for change or escape. And the last but not least is relationship deterioration. So over time, the cumulative effects of these issues can lead to a deterioration of the relationship. Without addressing underlying issues and rebuilding a foundation of trust, respect, and understanding, the relationship may become unsustainable. So I want to share an example of this. Now, this is not a story from a specific client, but rather a composite of several stories from several clients that have a very distinct theme. So let's call this couple Brian and Janet. Like most couples, Brian and Janet started their relationship off with neither of them really understanding themselves or their sexuality. Brian had more of a working knowledge of his body, but Janet came from a pretty conservative upbringing. While they were dating, they were very affectionate with each other and struggled to keep things appropriate before marriage, but they did. They didn't talk about sex much before marriage because they figured that it would just come naturally since they seemed to have great chemistry. They married and things were good for a while, but especially when kids came along, Janet's sexual desire seemed to wane. She didn't really think about sex a whole lot because she was really busy taking care of the children, the home, and her church callings, while Brian finished school and began to climb the corporate ladder. Now, Brian often felt neglected by Janet. He worked hard to provide them a good life and didn't understand why Janet always turned him down for sex. He began to grow resentful that Janet didn't want sex very often. When she turned him down, he felt rejected and would withdraw. It felt very painful to him. He thought he was a good-looking guy. He earned a good living. He wanted to please her in bed and show her how much he loved her. What more could she want from him? Janet, on the other hand, felt like all Brian cared about was sex. He worked long hours, and while she enjoyed being home with the kids, it was a lot to keep up on by herself. She was exhausted, and when she tried talking to Brian about how she was feeling and asked him to help her more around the house, he would help out for a day or two until she would have sex with him again, and then he'd just kind of stop. Now, although he was a really good father and a good husband, she felt very alone. So what do you see in this story? Both of them wanted to feel loved, and they feel love in very different ways. Brian felt love through sex. Janet wanted to feel loved through feeling supported in the home. Neither felt respected for what they did for the family. Neither felt heard for what was important to them, and neither felt like they were being treated fairly. So sex was not great for either. What they didn't see was how their stories that they were telling themselves about the other person wasn't necessarily true. And they were both so focused on being right and the other person being wrong and not meeting their needs that they didn't take the time to sit down and talk about how things could be different for both of them. This is a lot of what I do when I coach couples. Help them see the stories that they're telling themselves that are making them just kind of miss each other instead of connecting. So what stories are you telling yourself about your life, your marriage, your situation? What is your spouse telling themselves? And what is the truth? The absence of these foundational values, love, respect, understanding, and fairness, can lead to a host of challenges that impact both the marital and sexual aspects of the relationship. So addressing these issues requires open communication, mutual respect, and a willingness to work together to rebuild that trust and intimacy. All right, my friends, that's all I have for you today. Make sure you go sign up for the membership. You can learn all about it on amandalauder.com/membership. And remember that love is a journey, not a destination. Stay committed, stay passionate, and stay connected. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you want to learn how to apply what I teach you on this podcast, I want to invite you to work with me in my Embrace You coaching programs. In my coaching programs, I teach you all of the skills and tools you need to have a better relationship with yourself, your spouse, and your sexuality. You also get weekly coaching to help you apply what you are learning in your own relationship. For more information, go to amandalauder.com and click Get Help in the menu to see my programs for both men and women. Like what you're hearing on this podcast? Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Don't forget to leave me a review and share it with your friends.